Oh, that was fast.
Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our Survivor 45 finale recap. Alexa's final podcast. That's more important than anything that just happened on our TV. So, Alexa's final podcast. And I just want to preface this by saying, for one last time, let's get it on. I know Alexa's been dying to have Jeff Probst say that to her for her entire life. So, I'll say it to her here because this is the second best thing. But let's get it on.
Let's do it. I got to book a flight to Miami for a watch party next year. You've been saying this since it was warm, and it's like 30 degrees where I am right now. So I'm ready to book my flight. Let's go to Miami.
I said the entire time this cast was announced, I looked at their beautiful smiling faces, and I said D is going to win because she's from Miami, and I need Bryce and Wendell to come down to survive or come down to Miami for a watch party. And I'll tell you what, if you say it enough, you can manifest things, and I've proven that time and time again. Yeah, I really manifested this. And D, if you want to send me a thank you, you can send it to either the Survivor Specialist Twitter or my personal. Either way is fine with me. But I made this happen, even though D went out there and had already won the game by the time I even knew that she was a human being who existed on this planet. If it wasn't for me, I don't think this would have happened for her. I needed to put that out in the world. So Bryce and Wendell need to come down to Miami. But all joking aside very quickly, because I know that like this is going to come across like very obnoxious of me. I am so ready to put D as one of the top winners of all time. And I can't wait to talk about it. People are going to be so freaking pissed at me, and I'm so happy about it.
I would disagree with that. Everyone, I mean, people are saying buying away in terms of the new era, but even still, she has like, and she was even saying this in her final tribal. She had like the whole night was saying that she had 2 number ones, and the math on that is just not possible. You have 1 number one, and she was saying that in front of both of them, and everyone was like, "Oh yeah, like that tracks." Like that is a social game that is just so above and beyond. And I think it was Kelly who said this in the like very cool fallen comrade situation that we got. She was like, people just didn't want to vote her out. And even if you wanted to vote her out, people just kind of shrugged their shoulders. And we'll talk about this final 5 vote because that was just the hottest mess I've ever seen. But every time like Dee's name came up, like I think it was Julie. Like Austin was like, yeah, I don't know. Like no one even wanted to get rid of her. So that is like, to me, just miles more impressive than any kind of flashy idol player, any kind of something like that.
I got to throw up La Morena saying I agree, Phil, because that's what's important here. So thank you.
Phil, I really don't think I know you like to have people on the internet hate you, but people will agree with that.
I think it's going to be a polarizing take because I think it's going to be polarizing. I think you're going to have a lot of people who very much agree with it, and then you're going to have people who very much disagree with it. Like I think the Gabler situation was one that people very much disagreed with because people just didn't see the game. I feel like Erica's built up a cult following, and Marianne and Jam Jam are kind of sitting in that middle ground. Yeah. But I think
they're oddly like the least controversial.
Yeah, they're the least controversial by far. I think the interesting part about D, if we want to say like, because a lot of times people will start saying, let's talk about where she stands as a female winner because we haven't had as many female winners. It's an easy place to start. And I think most people would automatically start putting her ahead of the Natalie Whites and the Jenna Marascas and I would even say probably Sarah in her second season, just because it's a second season. So that's a little tough. I think people would start putting them up there. But I think the problem is I'm ready to kind of start doing she's up there with the Parvs and the Sandras and the Kims. And that's where I think it's going to start to be a little hard for people to understand. I'm going to be talking about D a lot in the future. I won't harp on it too much in tonight's podcast, but what I really want to stress about D's game, it's kind of like how I feel about Tommy Sheehan's game. Although Tommy didn't have to do as much, D did such a phenomenal job of making sure she was everybody's number one. Not only did she have Austin as a number one, not only did she have Julie as a number one, Katurah was her number one. And people don't realize that. Drew was never going to be her number one. So what did she do? She got closer with Drew's number one than Drew could ever get with his number one. She played such a phenomenal social game, but also we cannot diminish the fact that she won 3 immunity challenges, dominated that portion of the game. Okay. And I think, look, the final 5 vote, we're going to talk about it. The luckiest thing the luckiest thing that we have ever seen in Survivor. Nobody knew what was going on at that tribal, but that does not diminish how she won the game. And Neo Kuro, who's been ripping apart D on social media all night, she was not Drew's number one. So no, Phil, I literally just said she wasn't Drew's number one.
She
So
was not.
I literally just said those words. But I think she really did play a tier Survivor game. And I know my Michelle thing is such a hot take, and everybody's always like, well, Aubrey did this, Aubrey did that, whatever. D dominated this game. She only won 5-3, but some of the most dominant winners in the history of the show barely won. Richard Hatch won 4-3. So I'm not worried about what the margin was. She dominated this game.
I think the margin has gone out the window since all the 7-1-0 stuff happened. I thought it was, first of all, I have so many different things to say, but Caleb walking out and saying, Jay, I was like, oh, good. I'm so happy Jake got recognized. And then I saw Owen's tweet, and then I was like, what? He didn't even vote for him. And then I realized it was a callback to Jay Maya. That was a horrifying 30 seconds to realize that. But yeah, I think the reason it was so close is something we talked about with James a lot. We talked about this in other finale predictions. Is it is hard to distinguish yourself when you are in a very tight alliance with other people. So this whole season, I think, will have some really interesting implications, because the re before was incredibly successful. Even though they broke apart probably as late as they possibly could have.
Yeah.
But this shows that actually sitting at the end with your number one may not always be a good thing. And obviously she had those kind of things under her belt, the leaking to Julie and not telling Drew versus her telling him, Austin telling her. But it was close. I think that's why it was so fun. It was a really close, and they were going at each other.
Yeah, they were. And I had tweeted at that time, did D mistakenly split her votes with Austin and put herself in a worse spot to win? Because I thought that at that time, maybe Jake would get Caleb's vote. Maybe he would get Emily's vote. Maybe there'd be a couple thrown votes. And all of a sudden, she's splitting with Austin 3-3. It was ballsy for her to sit down next to Austin at that final tribal council, because I was sitting there watching it with my wife, and she kept saying they're giving the same answers. They're giving the same answers.
Yeah.
They're giving the same answers. But she had the ace in the hole over Austin. And when she said, I did tell Julie, that was the end of Austin's game. At that point, he was not going to be able to get 5. He might get 4-4, and then it's up to Jake to determine who wins, which I think in that situation, Jake probably ends up voting D, because I think he would have respected the physical, the fact that she was winning things, because he didn't.
Yeah, and he had been trying to gun for D a few times, and I feel like that's like a game respect game kind of thing.
Exactly. And I mean, Austin's face in that moment was devastating. I could feel the sinking feeling in your stomach of you think you've been defending this person the entire time. You think you have all the information, but I do think that there's something to be said for Austin's game. The fact that he still got 3 votes after all of that.
I know we were really disregarding him.
We were. I thought he had no chance in hell. I thought that he was going to sit there and nobody was going to vote for him. And instead, he ended up getting 3 votes. And this is the closest final tribal council that we've had since season 30. Oh my God, 8? Was 38 the closest other than this one when it was Gavin versus Chris? Because Dean got 2, but I don't know how many people were there. But anyway, it was refreshing. And I have to say, and then Alexa, I promise it's your turn, because I know this is your last show, so it's supposed to be all about you. But I want to say this real quick. For those of you who are very vocal in this community, and if you're on Reddit, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, it doesn't matter. Threads, I don't know. Or did Threads last? I have no idea. Whatever. TikTok, sure. Whatever you're doing, just remember this finale proves that TV producers and TV, whatever it is, Jeff Probst, these people are going to say one thing to the media and everything because they need to promote their show. And rightfully so. But they are listening to us. And this finale proved that. That doesn't mean go out there and start bitching about some certain archetype you don't like. You don't like the Drew archetypes. Now you go out there and you start insulting people that are like Drew. That's not what we mean.
Yeah.
But it's the fact of we got rites of passage tonight in an abbreviated, different fashion. We got a different final jury format tonight.
Oh, thank God.
We are getting a lot of changes for the good. And I think it is worth noting that the Survivor community as a whole is a big part of the reason why that is happening. So don't let anybody downplay that to you. If you are one of those vocal people, it is going noticed. And that's huge. And I think the Survivor 45 finale gives me so much hope as to what the future of Survivor actually holds.
That is such a good point, because the actual like first half of this episode, from a like characters and gameplay perspective, I was like, this is frustrating. That was honestly the only word that came to mind. And we've talked about how we like sloppy gameplay, but there's when it has been sloppy for so long, you like want people to get there and then they don't get there. And that was very frustrating. But I'm not someone who has like, lost sleep over like rites of passage, but this was a really, really good way to bring that back, because they had, they still had them like slow-moing through challenges and stuff, but also talking about who they would potentially vote for. And some of those people actually voted, like Kendra voting for Austin was something I wasn't really expecting, but she brought that up in her rites of passage. And I thought that was a really good, a really good flash forward. Thank you so much, Caslin. First time tuning in live all season. Thank you for everything. Best season of the new era, hands down. Great season end on. Absolutely. I'm really happy. I'm ending on a great season. I cannot overstate how happy I was with this jury format. And like nothing really had to change that much. Like nothing was different. Jeff just guided them, and he didn't even guide them the whole way. Like sometimes Kelly spoke up or sometimes certain people spoke up, but whenever it seemed like there was a down pause, he would make sure to call on people. Only person who was quiet all night was Bruce. And I don't know if that's just like, I gotta get home.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion on this. But that does tend to happen. But I could not have been happier with that. And even though Jake knew what position he was in, I appreciated that he would like still get questions his way, because otherwise players like Jake, quote unquote, would have been ignored.
Yeah, I really thought that this was a phenomenal job. And so Will and I were recapping Surviving Barstool, and we just thought that would be fun. And they actually did almost this exact same Final Tribal format, where one person would go up and would talk and would speak directly to each person, kind of like the old school Sue Hawk thing. And then they would sit down and the jury would start talking amongst themselves about how they felt about what was just stated, if they disagreed with the person, if they didn't, whatever. And that's what we kind of saw tonight. Like the Barstool one's going to be extreme because you have these guys who are MFing each other up and down. But this is a different situation, but it was very similar of, let me speak off of what you just said. And honestly, I think the reason why Bruce's question or whatever he said didn't get put in there was because it didn't have a direct impact on the end of the game. A lot of these were, we're telling the story. How do we create the thread between what Kendra just said to what Katura just said to what Emily just said to what Drew just said, yada, 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 right down the line. And it really worked. And this was phenomenal because it was kind of like if the jury was full of Sean Rectors, because I always go back to his moment after Tammy went up there and just roasted Vecepia for being religious and lying. And Sean Rector went up there and was like, how come the religious people are the ones who can't lie in a game, but you can lie through your teeth the entire time? So he still said his piece, but commented. And I feel like that's what this was tonight. It was a lot of people saying their piece. And I am telling everybody right now, if we have a graphic designer out there, if we have a t-shirt person, I want Emily dancing with like, her little thing. And I want the line, can I push back on that? Like, that's it. Like, it's so funny how she just kept saying, can I push back? Can I push back? Can I push back? And I love that she was willing to do that. And in the other jury format, she wouldn't have been able to do that. This was phenomenal.
And this was a group of people that was very, like, very confident. And this is like kind of going out of Survivor a little bit, but like Emily saying that, and even in the after show, like Jake wasn't getting many questions, but he like jumped out and answered something. And I really like appreciated that. Really appreciated that. I don't know if it's confident or confidence in being outspoken, but I like that. And I think more people should be like that. And Emily, we saw like a very good evolution of Emily doing that. But yeah, to your point, I think, she definitely wouldn't have said that otherwise. Luckily, she did have the best voting confessional of, the past 10 years with her vote for D.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was fantastic. It was so good.
She may have to book a flight down to Miami.
I'm telling you, guess what? Emily, you get on the same plane as Bryce and Wendell. I'm telling you, get on the same plane because they have no choice now. They have no choice. And I'll tell you what, Emily, like you are more than welcome down here, and I would love to see you fight D at the whatever episode I'm going to get to do this at. I mean, D
Emily's
might
gonna
not
take
show
D's
up.
$1,000,000 check.
Yeah, I really want to meet D, and I do want to meet Emily as well, but D might not show up if Emily shows up because I think Emily is one person who her threats are sincere. I think she really might come after D if D is spending money on Austin at this point.
She was not smiling when she said that.
She was not. She
It
was
certainly
sincere.
was
So
not. But yeah, well, to go backwards a little bit, I think we were talking you were talking a little bit about D's dominance, and I think it's like D came out and she said, "I wanna be honest, I was really lucky." And I think that's a very good way to frame stuff like that.
mhm.
And Michelle sort of did this too, but you can't you can't blame or prop up your game because of luck. You have to just be honest with the fact that luck was luck. And I think her doing that kind of like level set her a little bit. And I thought that that was really good. Um, I have something else I was going to say about that. Oh, but luck with the final five vote, like all three of them were like, we can't even use this as like a benefit or a detractor to anyone else on this final three because everyone was just so confused. And I
Yeah.
don't know if any like out of those three, there was no benefit or detract to any of
Yeah.
them.
Let's talk about this final five vote real quick. So
Like,
I don't know, and I could be wrong here, but I believe this is the first time in Survivor history that every person out of tribal council eligible to be voted for was voted for. I don't
mm,
think that's ever happened. Now, granted, I'm not talking about like the old school final four where you do 2-2, but even then it would be 2-2. You weren't voting for that other person like when back when there used to be final twos. You weren't voting for that other person.
so it's
So
3-1.
I think this might be the first time in the history of the show that every single person who was eligible to be voted for ended up receiving a vote. And so we had this situation where everybody was coming in with a vote. And I was trying to think about this logically because I think D is an incredibly logical player. I think Austin was an incredibly logical player. And I think Katura, we didn't see it, but was also a very logical player. Jake told Austin about his idol, but we can get to that later. I just want to talk about this vote from this standpoint. Austin and D know that Jake has an idol. You're worried he's going to play it for himself. You're worried he's going to play it for Katura. Here's where this gets so insanely tricky, though. If you put 2 votes on Katura, you need Julie to also vote that way. So that's
Mhm.
3 votes going on Katura, right? If you tell Julie, that's 3 on Katura. And then the other 2 will go on either D or Austin. So 3 votes Katura, 2 on either D or Austin. If Jake plays the idol correctly for Katura, D or Austin goes home. If they put 3 on Jake, if Jake plays the idol correctly, D or Austin goes home. However, so I was like, okay, how do you fix this? Well, if it's a 2-2 tie, I said, okay, good. They're making the right move. They got to go after Julie. You go after Julie in this situation. She gets 2 votes. It offsets. The problem is Julie's not voting with you. So now you have a
Mhm.
2-2-1 tie. But the tie is between Julie and D or Julie and Austin. Well, now D can't vote. Austin can't vote. Whichever one of them got the 2 votes. And Julie definitely can't vote. Jake and Katura are voting again. So it's a 2-1 no matter what. So D and Austin actually had no play here. They literally had no play. And this is where I will never, ever, ever knock a winner's game because of luck. Luck is
Mhm.
100% a part of the show. Whether it's a rock draw, whether it's the starting tribe you were put on, it doesn't matter. Luck is such a massive part of the show. And they were able to convince Katura enough that Jake was not trustworthy, switch your vote or whatever it was. They might not have even known that they were doing it, but they were able to somehow, some way get in Katura's head enough that she felt, you know what, I need to vote for Julie. Because Austin and D literally had no play there. There was nothing they could do to save themselves. And somehow, some way, D got through that vote. And whoever got through that vote between D and Julie, I think was going to go on to win the game. Although Austin had a better chance than I thought he did.
He did. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a lot, 3 whole hours at this point, and Couture it seems like well, we'll read this in extra press, but it seems like Couture changing her vote subconsciously or to us as viewers, it's that is something that has been building for weeks, and we were not shown that, and I am out of anything, I am frustrated with what we were given from Katora. And I'm not frustrated at her. I'm frustrated at production because she clearly was very involved with this Reba group. And we know why she didn't trust the Bella group. James talked about this last week. She found out she was on the bottom of that 6, but then we never really got anything else. And I mean, yes, like I agree. Like, yeah, she should have voted with Jake, but for what it's worth, it sounded like she and Jake never ever trusted each other this entire time. And even in the weeks leading up to this, they kept talking about working together and they never did. So as much as I'm shocked because it could have been a good moment, I also couldn't be less shocked because they were never ever working together. And so from her perspective at that point, like, why would you do that? And the like having him swear on Nana thing was a little confusing. I know, like, I think that has kind of lost so much, but because it was like Nana, say Nana. I was like, oh my God, okay, this is gonna happen. But I think there is something to be said about Jake not telling her. And I get that from his perspective. Like, I gotta make this huge move, but it was a failure on all ends, but I don't think there is a clear reason why she did this, and we were not shown that over the past month, and that is not her fault.
Yeah, well, I have a couple things I want to say on that. And first, I got to mention everybody in here saying Austin had immunity. So yeah, I complicated that story so much. Dee was getting 2 votes no matter what, and there was no way to save herself. That's really what the moral of the story was, because Austin wasn't. Okay, so new era of the specialist coming up, right? I mean, we're
new era
coming.
Drop
So I have
4, keep the 6.
I have to comment on this now. I think Katurah made a lot of blunders, and I really think that this was just a bad move on her part, because even when she came back and tried to rationalize it and was explaining why she was doing it, she couldn't even make it make sense. She was trying so hard to make it make sense. But here's the thing and Jake didn't say this, but I wonder if this was going through Jake's head at all during this entire process. Every time Jake told Katurah something throughout this season, she ran as fast as she could and told Dee or Austin, or it was Dee pretty much every time, but she would run over and tell Dee as quickly as possible. So maybe Jake was concerned that if he told Katurah, I am going to play this on you, that Katurah would go to Dee and say, hey, Jake's going to play it on me. So if you want to get Jake out, which is what they all wanted to do, you can just vote for him. I think that is why Jake didn't do it. Plus, he wanted the move. He needed the move. He knew that was his only way to get votes. But I think Katurah played this game on such a roller coaster of and just so wishy-washy that there was this should have worked. This was the one time the Bello thing should have worked. And she was almost in her head more like about how she was playing the game than how Jake was at that point, in my opinion.
That's a good, yeah, that's fair, especially because there is a precedent that she has set for, she's given a plan to get rid of Ariba and then she goes and tells them. I think, and this is a cop-out because I'm not blaming a player for this, but I actually don't think she played wishy-washy. I just think we were not given any sense of strategy from her. This whole jury was talking about how she's so logical and she speaks so well. Everyone thinks she should be a lawyer. Like, where was that? I'm so disappointed because after the premiere, I was like, she is killer. We loved her. And then to be given what we were given and knowing that she had this great story, and not even that, to your point, what is this?
I have no idea. How does that go away?
Oh my God. How did that just happen?
I have no clue what the hell that just was. Who put a thumb on our screen?
Who just did that?
I have no idea. All right, continue. I don't know what that was.
Oh, I was on a roll.
That wasn't me.
Oh, so, and then in the final 4, when she's like prepping for fire, to your point, then she's like, oh my God, I made a mistake. She was crying. She was so upset. I'm so disappointed that this was what was given for our fallen angel, because clearly the jury disagreed with everything that we're saying.
Yeah, but I also think that a lot of what the jury was concerned about with Katurah was her ability to speak, not necessarily her game play, but maybe to be able to spin her
lawyer.
Yeah, but I think that's because her conversation. I think they a lot of what they were saying was she's so good with words. She's so good with words. She's so good at words. And you get somebody at a final tribal council who can get to your emotion and can say the right things that's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't matter the game that they played. I mean, I think that Dee's big moment was when she said, I did tell Julie. I think Austin was about to get some votes, was about to maybe win the game if that hadn't even happened. And that was it. Like, I don't know. I think that would have ended up, working out. That Katurah would have, I don't think Katurah would have ever won. But if she speaks well at that final tribal, that's really all that they're concerned about. Sorry, I got distracted because Bruce is in the chat, and then
There's a
somebody
lot
said there's
going
no
on in the
ads on the
chat
live
right now.
stream.
Yeah.
There
And
shouldn't be
listen,
ads on the live stream.
I don't think she would have won, but Dee was also clearly very concerned about her. I think, oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm going crazy. I think there's something that we were not shown, and that is something that's very frustrating to me because, again, I thought she was a really interesting character. And again, we like last week, she was like, I want the million. I got my eyes on the prize. I'm ready to go. And then we like, this was not a good move, but this is what I was going to say. This Bello, if there's anything from the season to take away, it's that Bello couldn't get it together, and ever. And so it was only right that this was how it went. But I think we and fans were just like hoping and thinking that this would happen week after week. And we either were ignoring or not being shown just how dysfunctional they were. And also, hey, Bruce, speaking of Bello, sorry to.
I know everybody's in here like, tell us what your question was. Tell us what your question was. Hopefully we can get Bruce to tell us what the question was here live on the podcast at some point.
What question?
His question at Final Tribal that he didn't get to ask.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get him on here at some point to do that. We'll see, maybe.
Hopefully.
But I think that what for all the good that Survivor 45 brought, I think there's still a lot of things that they have to work out. And I mean, Katurah was like, because they know as they're editing the show that Katurah is not going to win, they very much made her story all about Bruce. And then I don't think they could logically make it where Katurah, like, I don't know if Katurah's logic was necessarily there all the time. I think it was maybe she was thinking this way at one point and then this way at another point and then this way at one point. And it did just keep going back and forth. And maybe that's what we needed to see. Ty was an example of this. Ty was
show us if that's what the case was.
But I think they did show us that a little bit more. I mean, I definitely got the wishy-washy vibes from her, but I think what made it harder to see fully is that the entire Bello tribe was like that. So you had Bruce like that, you had Jake like that, you had her like that. To an extent, you even had Kendra and Kelly like that because they're talking about voting out Bruce. So I think because that tribe was just such a mess, it was hard for them to get into Katurah's mind. But maybe after all of this, Katurah was the quintessential Bello player where she was just so all over the place and it wasn't always logical, but sometimes there were really good ideas in there. Maybe that's what Katurah was, and maybe that's why it happened that way. So who knows?
Bleeds Bello blue for sure. Speaking of Bello, oh my God, this finale was so emotional for me, and watching Jake go through what he went, I felt wrong watching it. I felt like I was interrupting something. There's so much to love about him, and he said this at the beginning of Final Tribal. He was like, I went through every bad thing that can happen on Survivor, but it still happened on Survivor. And he has this like cute, happy smile. And even at the end when he lost and he's eating pizza and eating champagne and probably wishes he was taking a shower, he still had that smile. And so that was the only solace I could take from 2.5 hours of just feeling horrible.
I want to throw this. Yesenia Martinez says, great season. Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you.
So that's nice. And then I mean, Bruce has this one. So everybody who's watching, you can see that.
What would we, Bruce?
As we say, make it happen, right? Like that's all we can say is make it happen. But I do want to talk about this Jake thing because my wife, if he would have lost to Katurah, I don't know if she would ever turn the TV on again. My wife was literally depressed sitting next to me because Jake kept having it happen. But I do want to thank Jake real quick because for the first time in my life, something good happened to me. And it was because Jake broke a challenge. And I tweeted, wish Jeff got as mad at quitters as he got at Jake. And I ended up with my most liked and retweeted tweet of all time. So thank you, Jake. Yeah. 62 retweets and 845 likes, and we're still counting. And that was from my personal account. I'm trying to get that so I get more likes than I actually have followers. But man, I do just want to say this real quick. I get that Jeff's getting pissed because, dude, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of effort that goes into these challenges. I mean, I am
Absolutely.
like, we went to the one finale, Alexa, because I was good. I still am, I think, good friends with somebody who was doing, designing of like the tribal councils and things like that. And, you see how much work these people put in. I mean, Will, who's about to come on and be doing this podcast a whole bunch next year, he was a dream teamer. He was out there. He was doing this stuff. And you see how much work and the detail and all of that. So I get Jeff being pissed at Jake in this moment of like, if you break it, that's your problem. And then he breaks it. And Jeff was like really pissed. He was really mad about this. But also, he wasn't that pissed at Hannah and Sean. So you know what? You know what, Jeff? Like, Jeff did a lot of great things this season. But that's one where it's, I get in the moment, you're frustrated. Jake did it to himself. Be mad at him. But also, like, just move on from it because you moved on from the quitters way too easily. And if there's one thing that Jake O'Kane is not, it's a quitter.
Absolutely
That man
not.
fought day and night. And I think Jake's story and the fact that he got all the way to the final tribal council by losing everything, having everything go wrong from him, but he won the fire to sit at final tribal council. That is what we want on Survivor. And that is why in the first 3 or 4 episodes of this season, I was freaking furious because it's bullshit. And I love that Jake just has that fight and that desire. And you know what? Katara has it too. People can say that she played scared, that she played wishy-washy, whatever it was. But Katara fought to stay in that game. Katara did what she could do. She might not have made the most logical or best decisions, but she fought to stay in the game. And that's what we want from our Survivor players. And maybe that's why the whole season 46 preview was just, hey, remember, you can make a home video and get on the show.
That was odd. Yeah,
sorry to go on.
that was odd. Yeah. And I know they don't give you anything during the preview because of course they can't, but that was definitely like, I don't know. I'm curious what the angle was with that. Yeah. But maybe that's why this season was so good. And I think 90-minute episodes had a lot to do with it. Also this cast, but apart from a select few, this cast was lit to play.
Yeah.
They were driven. And this is what I know. Like Dee was like eyes on the prize the whole time. And looking back, Dee was the one who in a confessional was like ripping Sean apart. She was like, I want to be here. These people here want to be here. And that was also a consistent theme because, with when it was like Emily versus Brandon, they both were so desperate to stay. And you feel that like Kelly, when she got blindsided, was pissed. Like you feel all of that intensity. And it also helps that, the one returnee was a returnee as well. So I think that was a really good undertone that made this season so good because they all respected each other, but they were more competitive. And I really liked that. People were mad when they got voted out, and I really liked that. JD,
there he is.
What's up?
JD, hot take. I like the promo. That is JD from Survivor 41. Hello, welcome. Haven't heard from you in a while, my friend. But yeah, I'm very curious why they were harping so much on casting this season. They kept promoting cbs.com/casting. They kept talking about
every single episode. But do they do that in previous seasons? I swear they do.
They would do it every now and then. They would do it normally around when the casting process opened. I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty sure the casting process is closed. We're getting to Christmas. They probably have already decided who's going out to finals. Right. They've probably already done finals. Like, let's be real here. So I'm really surprised at this. But part of me wonders, why are they harping on this so much? What do they have in the works? If you can figure out what Jeff is trying to get the message across here, you will be on Survivor in one of the next few seasons. I'm talking to the Survivor community as a whole. I really do believe that they are trying to convince us of something, of some difference that they want in the next few seasons of Survivor. And so if you can figure out whatever that is, you're going to be on the show. I don't know what it is. I sent in an application tape. I never heard back. I think I was too mean, but I also sent it in right after Sean. So that's probably my problem. But that's what happens. And I get very New Jersey when I need to get very New Jersey.
I didn't realize you applied. That's great.
Yeah, I applied. I sent in my very angry Sean video. So Sean, if you ever want to see somebody rip you apart for a long time, here's a casting tape. But anyway, yeah, my DMs are open. But I really do think that there's a reason for this. Do you have any idea what the reason is? I mean, let's open that up. Here's your final hot take. What is the hot take on this?
I don't know. I think it was It could have also just been, when they show us that preview, they really don't give us much. It's always the mud, it's always the mud challenge, and in general, they have to only show them saying generic things. So maybe they were like, "Look at where these people are from. Look," it's like maybe just a different way of showing look, all these people from different walks of life. But it didn't, I don't know, it didn't do much for me. I thought it was odd. I was actually having so much anxiety because I was like, all these people just made these videos and now they're out.
Mhm.
Um, I did think there was, I don't know if this is something to look into. I'm sure Reddit is already deep in this, but the main guy, they throw him as buff. That is different.
Yeah, I was confused about that, but maybe that's something that they do ahead of time that we've just never seen. JD does say, I really think they're just trying to reach a younger demographic.
Yeah, that's true too. That's very, not to say at the sake of sounding like I'm 30 years old, it was giving TikTok.
Yeah, it was. It was. But you know what? If that's what they got to do, that's what they got to do because
Yeah,
the young people
absolutely.
are the future of Survivor. And I mean, you guys are going to see the logo, the new logo and everything that we have
Looks good.
coming out because I mean, obviously I can't have Phil and Alexa sitting there in my damn my thing anymore. So the new logo and everything that we have, I sent it over to my buddy who runs his own like brand agency, and I was telling him what I wanted, and he was like, "You're an old man. I'm going to give you something else." He just gave me whatever the hell he wanted, but I mean, he's successful, and that's why.
Have
Elijah
you considered
Thurston.
the color black?
Yeah, exactly. No, there is no color black anymore. You're actually all going to be pretty shocked. But Elijah Thurston says, "I'm so happy I got to meet both of you in New York. Sad to see Alexa leave, but this was an awesome season to leave on." Yeah, Alexa, you're
That's
leaving on a high
awesome.
note. You almost left after 41. Sorry, JD. She
I
almost left
know.
after 41, but still.
So did you.
I know. Hey, we
Thank
both
God we
did.
stayed.
We both did. JD says they asked the 41 and 42 cast to do TikTok dances in the pregame interviews.
Interesting. I
So they
would
were
love to
about
see
that.
Bruce do a TikTok dance.
Bruce, where's your TikTok dance, my friend? Get in here. Let's see it. Emily, we already know can do it. But okay, what the hell was the point? Anyway, all of
Yeah,
that, all of that is to say, I don't know why they were harping on it so much. Maybe it is just because they're trying to get a younger audience. Maybe there's something more to it. Maybe they were.
some video,
They
yeah.
can't be disappointed in this cast. I mean, I know that Sean, look, the two who shall not be named at this point. I know that them quitting was disappointing. It was disappointing for all of us. It was a great season anyway. And I mean, I know that some people are going to say it got a little boring in the post version. That's totally fair. I mean, it did
Yeah.
become a
I
little
love
predictable, but the fact of how these people were going home, Emily didn't go home because it was predictable. You know what I mean?
it.
Like Emily went home in a crazy fashion. Julie did not go home in a predictable fashion. Like there were some crazy boots. Bruce going home was shocking. So I really appreciated this and I really liked it. And we'll see what happens. Jake
Yeah.
T. This is Jake Thulin. The best Survivor podcast. We will mix you, Alexa. Hope to see you as an all-star guest once in a while. Be ready for 46. I'm ready for 46 already.
Become
Become patrons.
patrons.
Yes, that's the big one. That
Still
is.
pushing patrons for sure. Yeah, thank you, Jake. What were you saying before this?
I was rambling, dude. I can't believe it's 11:41 at night. I am feeling it
It
right
is.
now.
It is past our bedtimes for
But
sure.
I'm feeling it. Like I'm
Oh,
like amped right now.
I thought this season, oh yeah, I will not fall asleep for another like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I think this season and again, the 90-minute episodes are such a benefit. This sticks out with 41 for very different reasons of all of the new era seasons. And I think because there was such a dominant alliance versus such a hot mess alliance, and some would say that's boring. And there were certainly times where I was like, okay, like there's no chance that Drew is going to go home this week. But I found that very interesting because it actually felt like the social dynamics were front and center and the point of pretty much every vote. And that
Mhm.
is an unfortunate bar to set, but that was why I liked it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and this was really showing like what they're going to try to do. 41 and 42 were the desperation of what do we do after Winners at War, after COVID? How do we just get Survivor on TV? And then 43 and 44 was learning from that. 45 felt like the beginning of something new. And perhaps this is the Philippine syndrome of you had your 4 seasons that followed
Mhm.
up an iconic one. You have some massive changes, and now finally you say, you know what, we got to just mix this up. We got to just do something different. And maybe that's what happened. And this is Philippines. That means 46 is probably going to stink because I didn't like Caramoan. But 47 is going to be good. 48 is going to be iconic. And 49 is going to age like fine wine if we follow this route. I won't even say what's going to happen in season 50 because that's Worlds Apart. And I don't know if there's a more polarizing season of the show than Worlds Apart. But I do agree with you. Like this was enjoyable because it was just so different. This didn't
Mhm.
feel like New Era Survivor. This just felt like Survivor. And that is
Exactly.
what I want on my TV on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. I want Survivor. I don't care about the New Era elements of it. Make it something that I can follow, that I can root for castaways, that I can enjoy the twist and the challenges, that it's not overwhelming, that I'm not getting confused. On that final five vote, I have never been more confused in the history of Survivor, but every single player at that tribal council was also equally confused. So that's fine. We're in the dark with them. But everything else, like, I love the storytelling. The editing was phenomenal. If there's any editors listening, phenomenal.
Mhm.
I really do think the decisions with the twists were really good this season. I think they did a much better job. And the
They were.
changes that they made from a production standpoint were pretty much all great. And thank you for the auction and thank you for other stuff like that. It's really important. It really is. So that's what I have to say about that.
It is, yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the 90-minute like, how much farther the 90 minutes are going to go, especially with, like, 4 I think they signed on through season 50, so
Yeah.
will they make this will they make this the norm? I really hope so because I think this proves that they're comfortable trying something different now, and I know they said for 46 they didn't shoot with that same mindset, and maybe we'll notice it, maybe we won't, but it's clear that with this more time that they're comfortable trying something different, and
Mhm.
maybe it's the fact that it was a cool number season, it was 45 or because they knew they had 90 minutes, but I'm happy they tried the auction, and there was plenty I complained about, and but I'm so happy that they did it, and the advantages were, like, it wasn't too many and it wasn't too bad. I know, I think kind of the common frustration that we had was the post-merge votes. It took it, like, 4 weeks for us to get back to normal, but
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things, I'll probably forget about it, so
Yeah.
I'll take it.
And that's something that will develop over time, I think. I think as they start to get more and more comfortable with what they're doing, I think we'll start to see a little bit less of that. I think somebody had tweeted, I think it was actually Gabby from David vs. Goliath. I think she tweeted that Jeff was saying on his On Fire podcast, which you're all not listening to because you're listening to this. I think he said on that he's really starting to second guess fire making. So maybe we're starting to see the end of fire making. Maybe we're going to start to see some changes that make some sense. That maybe things start to come and go. Maybe it's not every season. Maybe we see fire making one season, then we don't. Maybe they start telling people that it's going to show up on a season. Maybe they don't tell people. At this point, you should just always assume fire is going to be there. But if it's not, you should also be prepared for that. I think everything is fair game at this point. So
I
we'll
think
see
that's
how they
great.
handle the post merge and everything like that early on.
Yeah. I know the fire making, I don't know.
Make me mad. I like
I was
it.
I was texting Robert about it, and I what fire making gives is, like, every time I am at the edge of my seat, and I know that's what they want, so it is very intense. I am glued to the TV, but it has become a whole segment. The lead into Fire has become an entire segment of the finale, and maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think I need a 3-hour finale. There's a lot
Mhm.
of futzing going on with but I'd rather it be shorter than have a six-person finale. So,
Yeah.
there's a whole section with and then they give them the fire making stuff, and I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it just drives me up a wall. But there's so much talk around it, and it frustrates me because I don't want it to be a huge part of people's decisions at the final tribal, and I don't think it is, but I don't like being told that it is.
Yeah, I don't think it matters to people as much anymore because everything that can be done with fire has been done with fire. So I don't think that fire really matters. I mean, Heidi won it last year. She got 1 vote. Jake won it this year. He got 0 votes. Like, I don't think it matters as much. I think
Mhm,
what it comes down to is, are we happy with the devil we know or the devil we don't? Because what
mhm.
concerns me is maybe Jeff is starting to get tired of fire because the person who's winning fire isn't getting more respect at Final Tribal Council. And that's what he's less happy about, which then makes me say, okay, if we get rid of fire, does that mean we're going back to a pure Final Four vote? Or are they going to put in something different that we're not going to like even more than what we don't like here? Because Survivor doesn't tend to go back, it tends to adapt and evolve. And I
That's a very
worry that we're not going to go back to a pure vote. And that is not what anybody wants.
that is a very good point. I don't know of a time when we've gone
As Cork
directly back
Stalls elegantly says, probably something stupider.
to but I you will be replacing me next year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's the only take. Whenever I need somebody to say something stupid, or I just need him in the
Or I
chat
put
down here so I can just add him in.
a
Probably
photo of a
something
cork.
stupid. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I don't hate fire making because I think we've seen enough of it where like Tommy got taken to the end, he won. We've seen people win fire and have nothing happen. We've seen people lose fire.
We've seen every combination
We've
of it.
seen every combination, and it is just kind of what it is at this point. I don't really care. So yeah, I think though overall 45 leaves a good taste in my mouth. Just to piss off Twitter, my season rankings of the new era: 43 is number 1, 45 is number 2, 42 is number 3, 44 is number 4, and that other season is at the very bottom of every ranking
I
ever.
like that.
I think I have Amazing Race seasons ranked higher as Survivor seasons than I have season 41. Sorry, JD. I know you're still here. I apologize. But I just hated the twists and advantages. And actually, one of the to quickly promote the Patreon as we
Mhm.
move forward. If you're listening to this, patreon.com/the specialists. We're going to start putting out multiple episodes per week for every tier. So there's going to be a lot of content going on over there. Go check it out. $5, $10, $20 patrons. Don't become a $1 patron. That tier is going away. It was going to be January 1. It's going away on Saturday. But one of the episodes that everybody is going to get twice a week for January and February is Will is rewatching 41 to 44 to kind of give people a taste of what he's thinking and look back at the show. He's already watched it, but now he's going to watch it with that eye of what did actually work for the show. Did it help develop the show? Did it help it move forward? And he's sitting down and he's doing every couple episodes. It's not like a full recap, but I listened to his one today about the hourglass twist.
Oh, man.
And it really just drove home why I hate so much.
Bill almost just quit again after listening to that.
Yeah, it was like he's going through, and obviously he's going to pre-record some of these because he's not going to watch all this at one time. But that was the last one he did, and it was the 4th episode of the series, I think. And he sent it to me, and I was listening to it, and it actually started to make me mad. And I was like, damn, because then what happens is I sit here and I shit on season 41. You got people like JD in the comments. And it's like, JD, but I'm not going at you.
Not you.
I'm going at that was the worst decisions production ever could have made. So, yeah, it's just, so Will is doing that though, and he's going through 41 to 44. So that is what you can get if you're interested in doing any level of patronage there. Patronage. There it is.
No, that was the medical term.
That was the medical term. Yeah. $5, $10, or $20 tiers. But again, $20 tiers is pretty much going to be less than $1 an episode. Once we get into that, because it's going to be pretty insane. So I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that's my ranking. Alexa, I mean, how would you rank these final 5 seasons?
I think I would put this one as my favorite. So I'd put 45 at the top. Then I'd probably go 42, 43, 44, 41. And man, saying all these together is just, it's like, my God, give them one name. Give one of them a name.
Yeah. Somebody had tweeted the other day that we as a community just need to come up with names for them. And Owen had tweeted out at something that was quite good. So I was really a big fan of all of that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, 44, I think in the moment, I think I enjoyed it, but I think there was nothing like particular that stuck out to me. Like 43 had a really explosive ending and I thought the cast was awesome. 42, I felt similarly. 41, I have the same reasons to you. I think it was an awesome cast. But honestly, maybe I should join Will on this rewatch because maybe I would like 41 a little bit more if I did rewatch it. And probably the same for all the other ones too, because unfortunately they do bleed together. And it's not because there's no title and it's not because all the people aren't fantastic. I actually think the casting has been top tier, but the seasons are very, very hard to distinguish.
Yeah, and I think like 44 is probably one of those seasons that'll age a little poorly, and it's more because Carson, Jam Jam, and Carolyn were just so much fun to watch. But I think on a rewatch, as you start watching that season again, they're really the whole show because that's what is being edited into the show. Franny and Matt are there a little bit, but Danny doesn't get nearly as much as he should have. Heidi as a second place finisher doesn't get nearly as much as should have. And that's what really knocks 44 down for me. Who was it? Jayburn. Wait, where was it? Nicholas as Phil Hourglass in 42 as well. I like that season, but just saying, no, I know it was there, but I was prepared for it. And I knew it was coming and I was able to build up and say, okay, I just have to know this is going to happen. I just have to sit there. And I think the casting on 42 was a little bit stronger, or just the way they told the story was a little bit stronger. So I think 44 over time will age worse. I think 43 will get better. I think 43 will start to build a Gabon type cult following. And I think
Also,
44,
Gabler has been like out and about and everyone
he
loves him. And
has.
that I think has been very helpful.
And I do think that 44 will be a little bit more like Australia, where it was really fun to watch at the time, but then you go back and you watch it again and you're like, okay, like it's good, but it's more of like just the people that I like than really what is actually taking place on my screen. But this was a great season. And you know what? Maybe this is one that I'll end up ranking higher, but I don't want to have too much recency bias. And it's really tough because 90-minute episodes, it's hard to compare that to the other seasons.
It's
So
so different.
I don't want to be too easy on this season. They got to earn it. They got to earn it.
Yeah,
Earn my
they got
love.
this drive. I also think it helped because D was not an obvious winner by any means. And I think that is a huge benefit of the 90 minutes that D was around, but that Rhea before, she was not the like obvious ringleader there. It really ebbed and flowed of who was in control and who was the biggest threat in the Rhea before. Everyone on Bello, you like thought they had a chance at one point and then never got there. Caleb and Emily were really huge. So I think with there being more time, all of a sudden you can make a much more even edit. And D is probably, whatever, I'm leaving, I can say this, like probably the best edited woman who's ever won. Like probably the best one because it wasn't too obvious other than like Kim or maybe Denise.
Kim's was too obvious.
Hers is too obvious.
Yeah.
Denise, I think she's probably up there with Denise, who wildly was referenced tonight. I loved that. I loved the promo for it because everyone was like, what, like, why are those three being referenced? I thought that was excellent.
Yeah. Also, in the promos, in the way that they were going about doing social media posts, Survivor was posting JT and Gabler and Denise, and it was like, why are those the three people? And it was like, who will be crowned the next winner of Survivor? And it was like, y'all didn't even put JT on Winners at War. Y'all pretend that Denise didn't even play, and y'all hated Gabler. Like, what am I missing? And and
like,
then
did they all win in December? Like, what?
And they didn't even do that because JT's was a spring season. So then I'm sitting there and I'm like, why are they doing this? And then the fact that that's how it played out. And I love that they said, what was the answer? And he screams out JT Denise Gabler instead of screaming the numbers.
Like, what?
10 out of 10. I really do. I think I've never been a big fan of give me some like finalist losers and have them play again. Really the only one we saw do it was Sugar. And well, we saw Steven Fishbach do it too, but Sugar did it. Sugar, obviously first boot in Heroes Villains, so nothing really to talk about there. Fishbach came back. I think all of us felt like Fishbach wasn't going to win, but he came back. Amanda, she's probably the most popular of the players, although Colby did it too. But Colby, nowadays people don't talk about him as much. But there's been a couple. But since the 20s, it seems like whoever gets third place is kind of like, okay, like we don't need to see that person play again. This new era third placers, I said this on the last podcast, every single one of them could play again. And I honestly think like should play again. That's how crazy this is. But, and Owen, I love you dearly. Jake is who I am most desperate to see play again. I need Jake to play Survivor again because Jake just could not get anything going. And yet I still think people were considering voting for him at the end of this game because they liked him and he was strong and he had the smile. He was a dick for so much of this game, but he had a smile on his face when he needed to, and they all smiled with him because it was authentic and it was real and they knew where he was coming from and they knew his frustrations weren't personal, even though he's sitting there staring at Kendra or Kelly or whoever it was when they get voted out. Like, I love Jake. And I think Jake needs to play Survivor again. I really do. Although, like I said, go down that line. Jake, Owen, Xander, Romeo, and who did I miss? And Carolyn. Oh, my God. Yeah, put all 5 of them on my screen again, and I would be totally happy.
I think think about that tribe. That'd be a great tribe.
And then, you know what you do? Let's go back to season 40 and put that third place finisher on there, too. And then we have a great 6-person starting.
Just maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you guys remember who got third place on season 40?
I don't know who it is. Someone tell us in the comments.
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm drawing a total blank.
Well, this is kind of like Gabler's dream for season 50, where it's like all these different tribes of these different placed people. So something there.
I know. There's been so many things of D is such a better winner than Michelle. D is such a better
Oh
winner
my
than
God,
Michelle.
Phil, this is gonna be fun for you
And
to
you
reckon
know
with.
what? Queen stays queen. D did a hell of a job, but Michelle is the greatest winner in Survivor history, and it'll never be topped. It's just
How
greatest one-time winner. That's what I have to preface with. So she's number 3 all time.
how do you think Austin's kick was? Like, what would you rate
I
it?
did actually. So I did.
I
I
saw Jake
tweeted
got a
that out.
4.
Jake got a 4, Austin got a 7, but because I'm so studious and because I was taking notes while that challenge was ending, I actually missed Austin's kick. So that tells you how.
Austin's kick was excellent.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was.
very good. The difference was it's like, when it's you're not the first. I wanted him to, like, punch it or, like, make it his own thing, but if you're gonna replicate, you gotta do it well, and his was a beautifully timed kick.
It was. It was really done. And I mean, he won. Jake didn't win. So for Jake, it's a little bit tougher.
I know when Jake's kick was much sadder.
It was. It was. There were tears. There really were. So I want to give quick shout outs to the people who won some buffs here. Corwin Green, you won twice. Congratulations. Corwin ended up with 112.5 points in the fantasy game. Kim Ferguson ended up with 112, as did Benny Espinal. The difference, the only reason that Corwin won is because he had Emily and the other two had Caleb, and Emily got a half point more than Caleb did. That is the only difference in that situation. So congratulations, Corwin Green. And in addition, Corwin Green won the power rankings game because he finished, even though he lost 4 points tonight, was dropping down to 116. Andy Vogel was sitting at 117 coming into the night, and he had Cura and Jake and Austin all in the wrong spot. So Corwin, email us, survivorspecialist@gmail.com. Congratulations. You're killing it. Also, I have the boot list winner. I don't have the prop bet winner yet because I got to wait to make sure I get a couple things. I was hoping it would go before I got to this point in the podcast, but it didn't happen yet. So the boot list winner was Kyle New B with 50 points. So nobody was spoiled this season, which made me happy. Even if there were some hints or whatever early on, towards the end, I mean, it was a disaster for pretty much everybody. He had who finished second place. It was Austin. He had that person getting 10th place. So, it was all over the map there. But those are 3 people. So email us survivorspecialist@gmail.com. I will get the prop bet winner out to everybody. If you're listening now, make sure you continue to like get involved in these games and stuff next season. Prop bet and boot list are free to enter. We give out a buff at the end of every season. I've been trying to work hard to get some merch going, so maybe we'll just start giving out shirts or something at that point too. And if you're not a patron, for our top tier patrons, you get to play in the power rankings game and you get to play in the fantasy game. Those will continue on in Survivor season 46. And like I said, if you're going to be a $20 or more patron, you're going to be pretty much paying less than $1 per episode every month. There's going to be over 20 episodes coming out on our Patreon every single month. So get ready for that. On Christmas Eve, I'm going to release a video that is going to talk all about the changes coming to the channel with the regular channel, logo changes. We're actually going to have thumbnails. What a concept. We're going to do that. Logo changes, what shows we're planning to cover, because we are going to be going beyond Survivor. And then what our Patreon is going to look like and what you can get from becoming a patron and all of that. I know I talk about the Patreon a lot. I know Alexa talks about the Patreon a lot. We try to bring it up on this podcast all the time. And it is one of the things. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's the price of a cup of coffee, because that, I think, is such an obnoxious pitch.
It's so annoying.
It's honestly just one of those things where it helps support us. And I love doing this thing. And, with Alexa leaving, I really I looked inside and I said, what is the future of this channel going to be? Because losing Alexa, it's not going to be easy. Alexa has been around since Survivor season 34. It's absolutely insane to think that we just went through 11 full seasons of Survivor together.
Crazy.
If I'm doing my math correctly. Yeah. But it's crazy to think that we've gone through that many Survivor seasons together. So the change is going to be different. And so I started saying to myself, what do I really want this to look like if I'm going to keep it going? And what do I want to do? And honestly, if we could turn this into a freaking like Survivor little empire over here, I'd be so happy with that. And I really think that the Patreon content that you're all going to be getting starting December 29th, I already have Will's first Will New Era thing put out there. It's really going to be worth it. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And try it out for a month. If you try it out for the month of January is going to be a good month to try it out. And if you try it out for a month and you don't like it, then I understand. Move on. It's fine. But, try it out and see what it's all about, because there's going to be a lot of changes coming to this podcast. And I'm so excited about it. I haven't slept in like a month, and I've just been tirelessly trying to figure this stuff out.
Phil has put more work into the next few months than I have ever done for this entire podcast. It is really, really awesome what he's coming out with. And maybe I will become a patron on Christmas Eve and open a little Christmas present video. But there's so much good stuff coming up. I do have 2 more patron podcasts. We're going to record those on Friday. So tune in for those. And if we get interviews, I will be around. So this
Yeah.
might not be my last podcast, but it also might, because sometimes we get interviews and sometimes we don't. We really hope that we do this year. That'd be a great way to go out. But like Phil said, it is actually the best possible time to become a patron. And it is a great time to continue with this podcast. There's nowhere to leave because I am not joining another podcast. So stay in your seat. It's going to be really good. I am equally as excited as Phil is about this. Probably because I don't have to do much of the work, and by much I mean any of it. So it's a really, really good time to be a patron. And it's also, like, for those of you who were around longer than I have, it's going to be a really cool swing back to see Will again too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'm really excited. And I will tease this. I know Russell Muscle TV was in here earlier. We are going to be doing something in January, and I will give more details on that in my Christmas episode. But we're going to do a little crossover with Russell Muscle TV that is going to go through the entire month of January and the entire month of February, and it's going to lead right up to the premiere of Survivor season 46. It's going to be Will, myself, and Russell Muscle. I don't know what to call him, so I call him Russell Muscle because I think it's funny.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it's good. So I call him Russell Muscle. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to have all of you involved. So make sure you're following us on Twitter and social media and things like that. Follow Russell Muscle as well, because we're going to be putting out a bunch of videos and a bunch of podcasts, and it's going to be so much fun. And it's going to be on a topic that you all actually do want to be involved with. You know, it's going to be a little dream casting here, but it's definitely going to be worth it. So check that out. Alexa, all of the I love yous, the miss yous, they're all coming in.
They're all coming in. I know, but this is also our longest podcast. We're like delaying the inevitable a little bit.
You have to. I'm making you earn your damn money. You know, that's all.
Yeah. This is the February. I'm cut off. So do what you got to do, people. I was really nervous in October before we went live. Phil was like, "You ready?" And I was like, I was so confident. And now I just feel like I'm going to throw up. And I felt kind of similarly this whole time. I was like, this is the right decision. And I'm not, as I said in October, I'm recapping Survivor is just something that I would like to do in the comfort of my own home. Now my love for podcasting is not what it used to be. That being said, I'm sure that opinion will change, and I'm going to text Phil in February and be like, can I come on for a recap or predictions? So this will by no means be the last time you guys see me. And again, that love for podcasting might come back. There's still there could be plenty of opportunities based on what you guys find out on Christmas Eve. But
yeah,
this has been a major part of my life for a very long time. And to think it all started in the backyard of some weird Miami party is really kind of like
it is
such
weird.
a far-fetched concept.
I know.
No, I love this podcast more than anything. I really think Phil and I have grown so much through this, and there's a lot of life experience that you get just from changing jobs and meeting new people. But this is such a unique experience that I have just been beyond blessed and lucky to be a part of. And I really fell backwards into this because Will was sick one time. So thanks, Will, for that. I'm happy to pass the torch back to you. But I really am so thankful for all of you. I never in 100 million years thought that people would want to listen to me talk about Survivor. So this is really so special. I don't really know how else to end this. I'm so thankful for you all. Become a patron and put questions in the Discord, because it's going to be my last Q&A. So ask me whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, ask her whatever the hell you want. Otherwise, I have to ask the questions, and my questions suck. I have 2 things that I want to say on this. Number one, this proves the fact that this podcast exists, proves that good things happen when you show up in Miami. That's where Will, Alexa, and I all met. So Bryce and Wendell, get your asses down here. Second, and obviously D just won. But second, yeah, I know I've harped on this and I've said this and I've talked about it, but this podcast, when Will found out that he was going to be working as a dream teamer, I sat there and I said, oh my God, we just had Adam. We just had Brett. We just had Sunday. We just had Chris Hammonds. We just had Jessica Lewis. We just had Will Wall. We are exploding. Are you joking right now? But then I said, okay, who else could I talk to? And I knew Alexa watched Survivor, and I reached out to her, and it was just, yeah, sure, I can try that. We had no idea how long it was going to be for. We didn't know if Will was ever going to come back. We had no idea what to expect when it happened. And Alexa jumped in. And if you want to give yourself a treat, go listen to Alexa's first podcast. It's
Oh
quite
God.
something. Yeah,
Please
go
don't do
listen.
that.
It was a random episode during Millennials vs. Gen X, I think, because we needed a fill-in. Will couldn't podcast. So I said,
Oh
oh, Alexa
dear.
watches.
I
So
should
go
listen to
watch
those.
that and do yourself a real good favor. It's worth it. But I'm so happy that we exploded to the point where now, with her leaving and wanting to just kind of put this behind her, whether forever or just for a little bit, whatever it's going to be, that we grew this to a point where I can say, I'm not concerned about the
Mhm.
future. And that's not because Alexa's leaving, and that doesn't say, oh, Alexa's not important to this. It's because we built this into something so big and we have such loyal listeners. And I mean, I've been interacting with more listeners than I think I have at any other time during this podcast, because people have been
Mhm.
reaching out, emailing, messaging, whatever it could be, talking to somebody at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Like, everybody is so invested in this community. And I think that's the
Mhm.
beauty of the Survivor community as a whole. And so I'm really excited for what the future holds. The future is going to be amazing. This channel is going to be amazing. I am so excited for it. The podcast is going to blow up. Patreon.com/the specialist. Check us out on Christmas Eve. I'm giving you all a little Christmas present early. It's not really a Christmas present. You're just going to listen to me blab. It's going to be like a
That is the
PowerPoint,
greatest present.
essentially. Yeah, it's going to be a PowerPoint, essentially. D is queen in training. Michelle is still queen. I'm so happy about how this happened. Alexa, for the final time, take us home.
I don't even know. Patreon.com/these specialists. Phil and I can gas this up all we want, but it's up to you guys to decide if you want to do it. And I think I've said this many times. It's a great time to be a patron. This is literally the best time to ever become a patron. It's the beginning of the year. It's the start of something new. It is the new era of the specialists. Thank you, Alice. I'll look forward to any future guest appearances. I will 100% be back. You guys, um, you'll probably see me in April or May. Realistically, or maybe we'll be sick, but I still love this show. I still love podcasting. I'm literally not going anywhere. I just gonna have to watch Phil and Will argue, because Phil and I were agreeing too much, and that just wasn't really getting interesting anymore.
Yes, somebody in this chat said maybe Will can put on a black wig and be calm. And I wanted to post it and say, nope, that isn't going to happen,
Let
because
us tell you
Paulie
that
Lewis,
two of those
actually.
things are wrong. Also, my
Yeah.
hair is brown, so 3 things are wrong.
Yeah, Will is certainly not going to be calm. You better be ready for some takes. I mean, we're going to be posting Patreon previews for the first
Nice.
episode of each of our things. And that first one is about Survivor Borneo, and we talk about the most overrated moment of it. And
Wow.
Will starts making fun of me very openly on that podcast. So get ready.
Wow.
It's a whole new era of Survivor, kids.
It's going to be very different. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I love all of you. I'll see you soon. If you want to find me on Instagram, you can certainly figure that out. But I'll still be subtweeting occasionally from our Twitter account. And I'll be marking them with Alexa, because I sent probably the meanest text of my life about Owen and Jake. And then I allowed Phil to screenshot it, and I haven't blinked since then because I feel so horrible. So
yeah,
sorry, Owen and Jake.
That's the meanest text you've ever sent. I'll send you some text and we can start talking about it, because man, I think that's the 50th. So Mogo Boat says, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Mogo Boat. That's nice. And that is the Mogo Boat. There it is.
Wow, that meme has continued on.
The best tribe in the history of Survivor. That's it.
Some would say. That is all. Love you all.
Out.
Good night.
And good luck. You're not going to finish the
And
quote?
good luck.